And once you've done that, then you can click join. It's a quick registration that gets you a link to your email. And through that link, you can join us here on Microsoft Teams. By the way, it's an audio only call, which means you can tune in from anywhere via any device or platform. And once you're here, all you have to do then is type your question in the chat. We'll give you the mic, and then you can fire away with your question. Today's agenda is going to be pretty simple and straightforward, as always. We'll go through to some quick introductions. Then I'll ask my panelists for their do's and don'ts when it comes to early stage product and tech. And then we will get onto the Q&As. And if you do have questions, though, that are on other matters and not on product and tech, please save them for the other conversations we run. On Mondays, we do one on talent. Today, as you can see, on Tuesdays, it's product and tech. Wednesdays, it's growth. Thursdays, it's fundraising. And second Friday of each month, it's UK startup law. Third Friday of each month is UK startup finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And you can RSVP to any of them or register onto any of them via our website, startup2scaleup.club. All you have to do is go to the website and take your pick. Actually, when you're there, you may also want to join our WhatsApp community. We've got some interesting groups of founders, investors, operators, specialists in the fields that we cover, the Q&As, and of course, our amazing mentors. And there you can connect with each other. You can discuss topics that were touched on in each Q&A. And you can also send questions ahead of each Q&A. But I guess without further ado, we need now to get on to the introductions. My name's Anton Call. I'm an Albanian in London working with startups normally right after they get investment. I embed within their teams and help them hire and keep the right people. I also do some growth advisory work with a few other startups and accelerators, as well as help some angels and family offices with their due diligence and assessments. We'll go to Mary, then Chris, then Mario, and then Dan, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Mary. I'm CTO at Pleo, which is a scale-up based out of the Nordics. I was previously CTO at Monzo and Moo and marksandSpencer.com and Helix. And I also advise Kindred, who are a early stage VC here in London, and I chair the Lead Dev Conference.
Thanks, Mary. My name is Chris Bracegirdle. I am a technologist, machine learning PhD. I have built various products over the years and founded various companies. My last business was a property data analytics business that was acquired by Rightmove PLC. I'm currently co-founder of Fortell, which is a voice AI platform. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Anton, for having me. My name is Mario Tomic. I'm Croatian, living in Spain, and I work as fractional CTO for non-technical founders, helping them navigate through technology, through managing teams, managing technology choices, budgets, and so on. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Anton, for having me. My name is Dan Cohen. I am soon to be the Chief Product Officer of a business in Series B, but I can't announce who that is at this point. But in a couple of weeks, if you see my LinkedIn, you'll see who that is. I'm currently serving as a startup mentor at the Royal Academy of Engineering, where I help the innovation work streams commercialize and productize their innovations, which is a super, super humbling experience because they're incredibly smart people. Thanks for having me here today, and great to meet the rest of the panel, and looking forward to some cool questions.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. I really appreciate your time today. Well, you've heard them, people. We've got 4 amazing panelists. They are given their time to be here with us today. This is going to be until 1 p.m, so only for the next 51 minutes. And if you've got any questions in terms of building your products or technology early stage, this is the place to be. Your questions can be on anything to do with product or tech. Let's say from your product roadmap all the way to launching your MVP and beyond, and obviously anything in between too. For those of you on the live streams, just a reminder, we are unable to monitor your questions that are live. So if you do want to ask our amazing panelists anything, you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is to go onto our website, startup2scaleup.club. Find today's session, which is Startup Product and Tech Q&A 164. You click join, it's a quick registration. That gets you a link to your email, and through that link, you can join us here on Microsoft Teams. And once you're here, then all you have to do is just type your question in the chat. We'll then give you the mic, and you can ask our team whatever it's bothering you at the moment, or whatever you may need help or ideas with. If your questions, however, are not on product or tech, please save them for the other conversations we run. On Mondays, it's talent. On Tuesdays, it's product and tech. On Wednesdays, it's growth. On Thursdays, it's fundraising. Second Friday of each month is UK Startup Law. And third Friday of each month is UK Startup Finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time. And you can RSVP and register onto any future session via our website, startup2scaleup.club. And now, let's get on to some do's and don'ts. What is one thing that perhaps gets on your nerves a little bit that you often see founders do in early stage? And what is something that you are quite pleased when you see people do that? Maybe we can start with Mario, then Chris, and then Mary, and last but not least, Dan.
Sure, Anton, thanks. Well, one of the things that I hear often, and I need to kind of educate and fight founders on it, is that they expect that building software is like going to supermarket and selecting a product from shelves, right? And software is pretty much, always bespoke, right? Regardless of what you do, you're always kind of building it for this particular use case and this particular client, right? And it's very hard to know exactly how much it's going to cost and know exactly how much it's going to take, because it's not product of a factory. It's not a car, right? And that's one of the biggest reason, or like most common reason, to have kind of disappointments or outcomes that are not what founders had in mind in the beginning. And then I see founders who start to sell super early, even before they have a product, that I know their chances of success are much higher than what I average see.
Thanks, Mario. So yeah, I mean, do's and don'ts from me. I'm going to reframe it this time and say what I think you should do is obsess about the real world problem that you're solving, and not obsess about your technical solution. And so in order to do that, do speak to users, and don't build before you know exactly what the problem is you're solving.
Can only echo what's been said. On more of a talent aspect, I'd say that I sometimes see founders only hiring from their network early on, and that's okay as long as that network's diverse. I think it's very easy to get to your first 10 or 20 people and have them all look very, very similar, gone to the same universities, or done the same, got the same sort of backgrounds. And that's quite dangerous, because we all know that diverse teams outperform homogenous teams. So I think the thing to do well early on is to make sure that you've got that breadth and depth of experience in your team as much as possible, whilst accepting that there's obviously a limit, or a particular set of people that early stage is appealing to.
Yeah, I mean, all of those points are absolutely right, and I would echo them all. I guess I would probably build on the point about diverse teams and say, it might be a bit controversial, and certainly it's meant to sound a bit cheeky, but you should date, not marry, your idea, because the idea is nothing, and it really goes back to talking to as many people as you can in as many walks of life as you can who are experiencing the problem you're trying to solve. I see a lot of founders, especially those that skew more technical in their backgrounds, starting with a thing or starting with a solution and looking for a problem for that. And I rarely see that correlated with successful outcomes. What I see much more successfully in market is people who have a real itch to scratch about a problem that they see in the world or one they've encountered themselves, and they're looking to find a solution to that problem, no matter what it is. And there is an awful amount of sunk cost fallacy that goes into, well, I built a thing, I should try and find some value in the thing I've built, as opposed to, we're all agreeing that this problem is a real problem. Let's experiment until we find a good way to solve that problem that people are willing to pay to have solved. And there's an amazing book called The MOM Test, which is about low ego ways to do product discovery and exploration of this problem space. I would recommend anyone read it. It's free to stream on Spotify at the moment as an audio book if you subscribe to that. It teaches you how to uncover problems and not bring your own biases and not bring your own ego to testing a solution, but rather validating a problem exists. So where I've seen it done well, it's a flexibility of thought and openness to diverse perspective, and a low ego approach and a humble approach to solving a problem as opposed to driving a solution.
Wow, those are amazing do's and don'ts, and I really appreciate you for it. I think it's time we go on to some questions. Again, I see there's a few people on our live streams, and I can see my other device pinging. So just a reminder, we are unable to monitor your questions there live. So if you do want to ask our panelists, you'll have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is to go onto our website, startup2scaleup.club. You click join under the Startup Product and Tech Q&A 164. Quick registration, that gets you a link to your email. Then through there, you can then join us here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can join us from anywhere via any platform or device. Now, I'll put a question in the chat that was sent to us earlier. To be honest with you, I'm a bit worried, because it just seems that you've probably gone and spent quite a bit of money without doing enough research. But then I'm not the techie here, so I'm going to read this out loud. But for the team, if you want to go through it, it's in the chat. But I'll read it out loud for the live stream. So this is from an automotive tech, auto tech founder. They're based in Coventry, pre-seed, automotive backgrounds. The problem is developing a platform for electric vehicle EV fleet management. We've built an MVP for managing electric vehicle fleets, but customers are asking for real-time battery health diagnostics, which we haven't planned for. How can we quickly incorporate this feature without delaying our go-to-market timeline?
Can I jump in,
Maybe we
Anton?
can start with, yeah, of course you can. So Mary first, Chris, Dan, and then Mario, please.
Cool. I mean, my initial response is be grateful. Your customers have told you something that they really need. And that matters more than your current go-to-market timeline. So I think going to market with something that isn't minimum viable or minimum lovable is a big challenge. And so take it as a gift that they've told you what they really need. And then I would consider delaying your go-to-market timeline in order to have a stronger proposition that they are more interested in. It's not necessarily going to be possible. I can't estimate better than your team can. Your team knows best what they can build and how quickly. But I would mostly challenge the assumption that you have to keep to your current timeline. I would find some way to adjust the timeline in order to have a stronger proposition that customers really want.
I think that's good advice. I think it's hard to say much else without asking more questions, being what are the limitations to you delivering that feature? Is it just man hours? You don't have enough people to do development work? Is it something specific about the data that you need to provide that feature? Is it something specific about the UI that you need to deliver that feature? But I think what Mary said is good advice. I think you need to have a rapid development cycle anyway, and you need to make a judgment call about how bad it would be to deliver your MVP without that feature. And if that product isn't viable, then you need to delay your MVP, which I think is what Mary was saying.
I think I was next. I mean, look, I will preface this with up until 6 months ago, I was the VP of Product Management for BP Pulse, the EV charging network. So this is absolutely my domain. I will say, I will completely echo the other views of the panel that being asked for something is good. What I will also say is that I was asked for this a lot. By the Royal Mail and by the Scottish Police Force and by a whole bunch of other customers who were using BP Pulse's charging B2B SaaS service. State of charge is an interesting thing, and the health of a battery can be measured in a million different ways. So without getting too much into the specifics of EV charging, because this is not the broadcast for that, and I'm more than happy if you want to ping me on LinkedIn afterwards and I can talk to you about what we learned. What I will say is getting to the cause of why that requirement is important to that customer is as important as servicing it. Oftentimes, battery health is an indicator of something else, and you can pick up the hints of low battery charge without actually testing the battery. So my advice would be root cause the ask and the requirement to find out what problem they're actually trying to solve, because having a dashboard that gives you a percentage health readout actually doesn't solve the problem. The problem you probably want solving is, how do I manage the replacement of a battery in a vehicle, and how do I do that in a way that doesn't cost the company too much money by doing it too early or too late? So it might be a requirement around predictive maintenance as opposed to a status or a diagnostic. Like I say, deep diving on EV charging isn't what I think this is about, but root cause the requirement and the outcome they're trying to drive would be the generalized version of that advice.
There's a couple of things here I'd like to bring up around. So is it customers who are asking, or is it a customer who is asking for this feature? Because if there are customers that are asking for this and they're in pre-seed stage, I mean, why they didn't talk with them before? So like, why they don't know about this already, right? Because they should be talking to those customers, if it's in plural, right, all the time. And if there's a huge need for a feature, and you're about to launch, and people are, oh, I need this, but and you don't know, then maybe you need to, founder needs to ask themselves about, okay, how do they do kind of discovery, how they do product management, because they should know about this already, and they should be building it already. So that indicates a bit of a problem there. And if there's a customer asking for this feature, and that happens a lot, and without going into details on this particular case, which might mean whatever, but generally what customers ask is not necessarily always what we need to build. And weak founders will just follow, whatever customers are asking. It's going to be this customer ask this, that customers ask that, and then 2 years later you have a bloated product that doesn't really solve nothing for nobody. So I mean, vision there is very important, that you build what you really think you should be building and what aligns with majority of your customers, not with a single dude asking for something. And there's always going to be customers like that asking you, oh, but everything's great, but we just need this one little thing. And then there's other customer asking, oh, everything's great, but we need that other thing, right? And it's a big mistake that founders are making, that they think they should be everything for everyone, right? So there's features that has to be they have to be built, and there's features that have to be ignored depending on where product is going and what kind of vision is being delivered.
Thank you very much to all four of you. If and when you are listening to this, whether you're now listening via the live streams or if you actually go through the recording, please feel free to reach out to Dan. He's got his LinkedIn here in the chat, if I'm not mistaken. No, you do. Oh, yes, you do. So please feel free to reach out to Dan if you want to speak to somebody who has been there and done it and worked in the field. We'll now go on to a second question. I think there was somebody who was starting to type, but just a quick reminder then, this is Startup Product and Tech Q&A. It's our 164th session. We're here to help startups with whatever questions you have in terms of building your early stage. And there literally are no wrong questions, and there's no need to be shy, because it's a learning curve for us all. If you're on the live streams, whether that's LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, please be aware that unfortunately we are unable to monitor your questions there. So you'd have to join us here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is to go to our website, startup2scaleup.club, find today's session, which is, as I said, Startup Product and Tech Q&A 164. You click join, quick registration gets you a link to your email, and through that link, you can join our call here. It's audio only, which means you can join us from anywhere via any platform or device. And if you're like me, you won't need to spend 2 hours in front of the mirror either. But once you're here, if you've got any questions within early stage product or tech, so let's say from product roadmaps to design to prototype, landing pages, apps, testing, MVP, automation, full stack, low to no code, tech debt, and all that jazz, just type it in the chat. We'll then give you the mic and you can ask our panelists. If, however, your questions today are not on product or tech, please save them for the other conversations we run. Mondays it's talent, Tuesdays product and tech, Wednesdays it's growth, Thursdays fundraising, second Friday of each month UK Startup Law, and third Friday of each month UK Startup Finances. They're all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can register to any of them via our website. And when you're there, why not also join our WhatsApp community? We've got some nice groups of founders, investors, operators, specialists in all the Q&As that we deal with, and of course our amazing panelists that you can reach out to. And you can also send questions ahead for each Q&A. And obviously, we can also discuss topics that were touched on whichever Q&A that you attended. So we'll now go on to our second question. Again, somebody sent this pre-Q&A. Now, we are thankful that you do send these messages, but what you really want to do is join us here live, because one, it makes for better conversations, and two, believe you me when I say that you'll actually get better help because the panelists can ask back and forth. Now, Kirsty's asked a question in the chat. So what I'm going to do is, instead of asking that second question that I put in the chat, we'll go to Kirsty's first, and then we'll circle back. So I've recently joined a startup and thought they were way further ahead with their platform than they are. It's a very lean team, and we've just gone through a hugely difficult sprint. It's helped me to see some big improvement areas within the leadership team and product management, but importantly, it won't work. We need to overhaul so much, which I know can be done, but the founder is very fast-paced and less inclined to slow down and get it right or any U-turn. So my question is more about general advice to manage this as a new member of the leadership team that sees some big gaps that are going to delay timelines in order to rectify. That's a very good question. And what I'm going to do now, Kirsty, is give you a mic and let you, that should be sorted now. Kirsty, are you audible?
Hi,
can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear
Hi,
you.
good morning. Good afternoon, rather. Thank you very much for joining us, Kirsty. Please introduce yourself, and then I guess wrap that question up, although everyone heard it, but and I'll ask it in your own words if you like.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kirsty. I just joined a neurodiversity inclusion platform as Chief Product and Operations Officer. There's 3 of us in the C-suite leadership team. So, yeah, as I say, I thought that where they were as a startup was a lot further ahead with having product management in place and just generally having had more feedback from clients and prospects on what's working and not working, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So even the CTO is relatively new. He's only been around into the business for about a year. So with the sprint that we've just done, it was really hard work for the CTO and the engineering team, and I'm really sensitive to that. It has caused some conflict between him and the CEO at the same time. There's a lot that needs to be changed just across the board with processes, the way the leadership team are working together, just the features and the product in itself to be, yes, MVP, but it should be further along than that. So it's quite difficult to know where to start really and what the priorities are, because I'm very much sitting in between them both, facilitating and trying to improve this, both on the tech and product side, as well as the how do we work together leadership side as well.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you very much for coming up, Kirsty. I think what we should do, we'll start with Dan from a product side, then we'll go to Mary, then Mario, and last but not least, Chris. What would you do here? Dan?
Yeah, this is going to sound like I'm making it up, but this year I've also worked in a product leadership role for an autism-based recruitment business. So very much like the last question, I also have personal experience with this, which is super weird. What I would say is, if you've just joined the business and you're trying to work out the founder dynamics, that's that's the thing that is paramount here. The thing that founders have is normally this unique insight into a problem, like we just discussed in the last question, and their approach to solving it is, a high conviction. They've plowed their time and then probably their money and their energy and their family's patience into solving this problem in this company. The lack of clarity for a product roadmap, or the lack of a good relationship, or a bad friction between a product leader and a tech leader, typically comes down to communication. And in a way, none of this is really about the product. It's about the individuals and the process they go through to understand each other's perspective and understand what the other is trying to accomplish. I'm sure you've read every book there is to read about aligning incentives and structuring objectives and shared OKRs or whatever mechanism it is that the company uses. But without going into more detail about the exact nature of what you're trying to build, being behind where you thought you would be, which is what your question says, is normally about expectation management. And either an over-exuberance or a lower understanding of the problem and the solution fit than was thought typically leads to this sort of thing. I don't know where you are with that, but typically that's what I've noticed. It tends to be the root cause of these sorts of problems.
Yeah, no, that's reassuring, Dan. So on the communication side, it's interesting you say that, because I've got one of them who is ADHD and one of them who is autism. They should be the absolute dream team together, but it's just figuring out how to improve that communication. And I'm a neurodiversity specialist, so I know I can help with that. But it will take a bit of time. And interesting that last point you just made on, that problem solution fit, because this is something I've literally just been having conversations about. I think they don't know what the problem is they're solving right now. It's just going in with that solution and knowing something needs to change in this area. But who are we doing it for and what are we doing? I think, I've probably underestimated that isn't known and targeted as well as it can be right now.
Yeah, and last thing for me then to respond to what you said was, there's another thing which needs to be discovered, which I'm sure you know, which is what other alternatives does that potential customer or user have for addressing this problem? Going back to our do's and don'ts thing for startup founders, I mean, assuming anybody cares about your startup is the number one thing that people get wrong when they try and launch a business. Because, if you're launching a SaaS, your number one competitor isn't your competitor, it's probably Excel or some other hacked way to solve this problem. So what is the problem we're solving, for whom, and what else are they currently doing to solve it? And then that should give you some idea of what the right thing to be doing is.
Thank you, Dan.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to jump in before Barry goes. Kirsty, you touched on something quite important when you mentioned that both those individuals, one's got autism and the other one ADHD. As the father of an autistic son who's also got ADHD, we literally were discussing it last night with the missus about his previous swimming teacher who has got, I don't know which neurodiversity, but he's got a few, we were told. And we were talking about a situation where he's quite one-track minded and he was dealing with teaching another autistic child, but he was so set on either doing it that way or no way.
Yeah, exactly.
And the point I'm trying to make in that line of communication often, and again, what you learn dealing with people that are neurodiverse is that when you've met one neurodiverse person, you've met one neurodiverse person. So they are so different from each other. But the one thing that often they tend to share is almost that hyper focus on kind of doing things a certain way, or hyper focus on one thing. Therefore, it doesn't always translate into them being able to communicate better with each other than somebody else who's not neurodiverse. Yeah. So again, it's maybe in terms of that line of comms that you touched upon and that leadership side, it's maybe finding what ticks them personally, and you try and use that to your advantage. And when I don't mean that to be schemy, but to your advantage to get to the right results that you want to. And sorry, Mary, take it away.
Sure. So, I mean, I'm autistic and ADHD, and it's tough enough having that in one brain, let alone two. So I have some sympathy for your CTO and CEO. I do think I suppose my main advice would be my autistic side and my ADHD, and you know a lot about neurodiversity, so if I'm teaching you to suck eggs, I apologize, but it'll be very tempting to want to overhaul everything, but actually both autistic folks from a resistance to change point of view and ADHD folks from a only being able to concentrate on one thing at a time point of view, or 7 things at a time point of view, like I would get it out of your system and write it all down, everything that you want to change, but then be very strategic about which single thing will make the biggest impact first, in the same way as you would for a customer, right?
Yeah.
Like pick the thing you can learn the most from and get the most benefit from. Do that first, then see how it works. And I think you probably want to take that product management style approach to your founder and your CTO, and slowly introduce or incrementally introduce, not necessarily slowly, but one change at a time, rather than trying to overhaul absolutely everything. And if the fundamental problem is you've got to get them to face up to the reality that they haven't really understood the customer, then asking questions about how you'll measure success might be the route in. That I would, if I were in your spot, that would be what I would do. I would start having conversations about how will we know this is successful, and either that's all about usage metrics or the impact it has for the customer or whatever it is. But if the current thing isn't going to show that success, then if you can agree on how to measure it, you'll get to an agreement that it's not working much faster.
Really practical advice. Thank you, Mary. And can I just say, I absolutely love everyone that's spoken has got a personal relationship with neurodiversity.
Yes.
And I'm ADHD myself. It's exactly why we're here. You know, it's not just if you're neurodivergent, it's the way that it touches everybody in some form quite often. But yeah, I think again, with what you've all been saying and bringing that angle to it too, it's also a case of practicing what we preach. And learning each other's communication and working styles as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think it was Mario next, wasn't it? Mario?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I mean, I'll just focus on this part about where founder is, fast-paced and less inclined to, to do refactoring, and this is something that just happens, and I've seen it so many times, and I think it's stemming from this. If you have one product person, the other is a founder, and you have technology on the other side, and then there's always tension between those roles, right? Because founders usually, or maybe I'm just working with neurodiverse founders, but like every founder I work with, they want things faster and sooner, and there's always technology guys saying, listen, but we have technical debt to resolve, we have this and that, and then you have product person who's like taking over they're putting their own hat and saying like, listen, but this feature is not gonna work, this feature might be too much for the problem that we're solving, or too little, or whatever, right? So what I read here is pretty much common situation in startups, because founders want things as soon as possible, the CTOs want things as best as they could, and so on, right? And it's probably everyone's right and wrong at the same time, right? And in the end, it's market that decides. But that idea that you need to have everything, you need to have processes perfect and working well, whatever, to have successful products, they're just false. Because I've seen so many successful startups that were terrible inside. It like processes were non-existent. There was zero documentation. Nobody liked nobody in the team. But all of that doesn't really matter that much when you have demand, when you have traction, when you have engagement, when you have product that actually works.
Yeah.
And everything else then, somehow work. And I had amazing run team that just built software that nobody needs. So, and I think focus should be just getting the thing out and getting users on it, and that will probably make a point for each person involved, because nobody's gonna convince anyone about anything really. But when you ship something and then nobody using it, okay, cool, now we have a strong now everyone has to agree on that, right? There's no
That'd be the evidence.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then from there everyone will make the best decisions about what to change and so on, right? So I would focus on product, focus on getting just to the market as soon as possible, and just take it from there, and not expecting to. And processes are like, it's better to work in a company that has nice processes, everything's there, and people know how to behave, they like to talk to each other, but that's not requirement to have successful thing.
Mm.
That's not required. That's nice to have, basically.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a fair point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Last but not least, Chris, what would you do here?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So various thoughts going through my head. The first thing to say is Mario's right. I think it's really common. You've got very different personalities often in these different roles. That's their personalities get those people into those roles. And so, as I say, I think it's very common. Startups are often might look like swans, but below the surface, the legs are kicking furiously. I think you've received some really good advice. Start with the real world problem that your business is trying to solve. The question I would ask you, Kirsty, is do you do sprint retrospectives? Do you all stop, get together, talk about what happened?
They haven't done in the past. I've just implemented them, so we have our first one on Thursday.
Yeah, so I think that will really help. I'm sure you know exactly how to do that well. My advice, if I was going to give any, would be to stop for a day or two, and start communicating, get the whole team together, and try and get some honesty about how they feel about what's happening. And I'm sure there are things that are working, but getting everybody to talk about the things that aren't, I think would be helpful for everybody. I think it's great to move fast and break things in a startup. I think you need to, but hopefully you don't end up breaking your team. So yeah, I think taking a moment to stop, definitely do retrospectives and communicate and get everybody clear on what is and what isn't working. I would suggest.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, team. And Kirsty, one thing that I've tried a few times, it hasn't always worked, but the last time I tried it was with a team. There's 5 founders, which is not very common in startup land. And what we did is I gave them one thing that they wanted to champion for us, for everybody to work on. And I did that about a week beforehand. And then on the day, I asked each and every one of them to, if we are not to go ahead with what you've asked for, can you pick one of the things that the other co-founders said, and you need to pick one of them. That way, you'll see the discussion going towards not kind of people defending their own idea, but defending somebody else's. And often we tend to become quite, not in a bad way, but in a good way, quite judgmental in terms of other people's ideas.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I hope that makes sense. I've just realized I've probably butchered it because I had something else. No, I had the same thing in my mind, but maybe the way I said it is not very clear. But that could work well. And since this is on Thursday, you could literally ask them today, let's go with one thing that you want to do there. And then on the day you say, okay, now instead of your stuff, which other feature that the others have mentioned you'd like to go for? And that way you may actually end up seeing that there is huge commonalities and maybe 1 or 2 things will prevail instead of everybody wanting to do their own thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. Thank you.
You're welcome. Best of luck with this, Kirsty. Would love to hear more on your progress. So please do feel free to come back and tell us how you're doing. And by the way, you feel you need to get a second opinion on any other stuff. I don't know if you've heard, and as you can probably see on the screen, we run 6 regular sessions. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, as you can see today. Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Friday of each month is UK Startup Law, and third Friday of each month is UK Startup Finances. And
Brilliant.
Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. Right here. This is Startup Product and Tech Q&A. It's our 164th session. We're here to help you with whatever questions you may have as you build your early stage product or tech. A reminder again to the people that are on the live streams, especially I can see a few people on LinkedIn. We are unable to monitor your questions there, so please, if you do want to ask us anything, you'll have to jump into our call here on Microsoft Teams. Quickest way to do that is to go onto our website, startup2scaleup.club. You click join on today's session. Again, Startup Product and Tech Q&A 164. That is a quick registration. We'll get you a link to your email. Then through that link, you can join us here. And just like Kirsty did, then once you're here, you type your question in the chat and we'll give you the mic. Now, there's a other question that was sent in to us. She says, our SaaS platform in Leeds provides budgeting tools for small businesses, and we're facing challenges with user authentication. As a seed stage startup, we lack dedicated resources for identity management, but security is paramount due to financial data access. Could you advise on setting up a simple yet secure authentication system that we can scale as we grow? And should we explore managed identity providers like Auth0 or consider an in-house solution for better control? Let's go to Chris, Mario, Mary, and last but not least, Dan. What would you do here?
Yeah, thank you. I like this question a lot. So I'm increasingly opinionated about this this problem. First thing I will say is often authorization is the bigger challenge than authentication, and I'll speak more about that in a second. To answer directly your question, I would definitely explore managed identity providers. I think there are some really great options off the shelf now that help you in all manner of ways. My favorite is probably Clark, which I would highly recommend, but there's also Auth0, as you mentioned, and Supabase has a really good auth platform too. So I'd definitely look at those, and as I say, I would go straight to Clark myself. The bigger problem often is figuring out, okay, well, we know who this is, but what are they allowed to do? And that's where it gets really challenging. So defining roles and permissions. I also think, given what your platform does, which is in budgeting and finance, you need to think about penetration testing. And there's a really good downloadable tool called OWASP Zap, although actually I think it's got a new name now, which is a free penetration testing platform. So those are the things that I think you need to focus on, but I would definitely look at off-the-shelf providers rather than rolling your own, which can be an absolute minefield.
I second to this. Like, I mean, it does make sense to build. I mean, if they want to build it, they're still not going to build it. They're just going to roll out some sort of like OAuth locally, like for example, solutions like Keycloak is kind of doing the same thing, only self-hosted, right? But at the end of the day, like, you don't want to do any of that. You want to outsource because those guys probably can do it better than your team can do it on their own. So for sure, find the best off-the-shelf solution and integrate. That's the way to go.
100% echo that. Do not build this. My team at Pleo in the early days built this themselves, and we're now having to move away from that. We're moving to Cognito, which is obviously available through AWS. So if you want quite a lot of cost control and sort of ability to customize, then that's one option. Or as has been mentioned, there's a number of options. If you only look at the really big players like Auth0 and similar, it will feel very expensive. But there are some other options that are a little bit more affordable in your early days.
Yeah, I can't really add much to what's been said here, other than say yes. Do not build such a thing. I will put some sort of strategic view from the product investment side on it, though, which is that you should always buy your commodities and build your differentiators. A simpler way is the Amazon model of, does this make the beer taste better? Unless this is your core product, you are distracting your team from doing anything other than building the critical path value flow for your customers. And this sounds like it isn't necessarily the main component in the value you're generating for customers. So anything that's in somebody else's front office should not go in your back office, and shouldn't be invested in that way.
That's amazing. Thank you very much to all four of you. We'll now go on to what is probably our last question for today. It's in the chat, but I'll read it out loud for those of you on the live streams. This is from a wellness tech founder She's in Bath. They're at Pre-Seed, mental health professional background. And she says, we're creating a mental health app that provides users with daily prompts and exercises to manage stress and anxiety, along with access to on-demand therapy sessions. Now, whilst users appreciate the daily, I'm sorry, somebody is unmuted. If you can mute, because it's creating an echo. Perfect, thank you. So the question she has is, whilst users appreciate the daily prompts, we're finding that many feel overwhelmed by the pressure to complete them every day, and they drop off after a few weeks. We're also unsure about the value of on-demand therapy and whether it's as effective as traditional therapy. How can we redesign the product to offer a more flexible experience that reduces burnout and encourages consistent engagement? It's also better communicating the benefits of on-demand therapy for managing mental health. Oh, geez. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you need to have the whole team go through this over quite a few meetings and quite a few bits of research. So for you to send this and not even be bothered to be here, now I get it, people have all sorts of reasons. They don't want to join and ask the question live, but all right, let's see what our team can do. Let's start with Dan, then Chris, then Mario, and last but not least, Mary. What are your thoughts on this? What would you do here?
Thanks for the hospital pass, Anton.
And sorry, just before you go, Dan, let's try, because we've only got 6 minutes to go, so let's try and keep it to about a minute each.
Yeah,
if we can, please.
no, look, I mean, I would echo your initial reaction, Anton. This is a very deep question with a lot of avenues you'd need to go experiment in. I mean, questions I would have here would be, what exactly is causing that drop off? How do you root cause it to the frequency of the alerts that you're sending, or the pull mechanism that you've built? I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to work backwards from what is the objective of the user when they engage with your product. And if somebody is not achieving the task that they have set out to achieve by purchasing or engaging with your product, no amount, and there is no magic number of notifications or no balance for each customer segment that might work. It's, are they actually getting the value? And I would try and isolate that drop off from the notifications being the core reason for it. I mean, other things you might consider are experimentation within those notifications might be something you could look at, but at the end of the day, why are people getting switched off by something that is adding value? So there's a lot of dials you could tweak or levers you could pull to experiment with this, and I would suggest that you do that. But I would start by working backwards from, what is it that people are getting from this product? Are they actually solving the problem they're setting out to solve by engaging with it, or not? It could be you're looking in the wrong place.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I think this is hard. That's the first thing to say. I mean, behavior change is very hard, and getting people to engage consistently with your app is going to be a difficult thing to do. And there will be lots of published research about this. But honestly, if you solve it, then your business is going to fly. So I think it's worth thinking about. I don't think we're going to solve it here on this call, but something that I would think very hard about is gamification. Why are people going to do the thing you want them to do and engage every day? You need to find a way of making them feel like they're getting something out of it. They're getting the dopamine hit from doing the thing that you want them to do. So I think you need to think about ways you can gamify it. How can you encourage people to do that? So the example I always give on the gamification front is there's a very well-known navigation app called Waze, and literally in Waze you get sweeties. You get virtual sweeties for giving information about your journey. So I think that's what I would encourage you to think about.
Mario? Or was
I'm
it
not sure
Mary? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add anything valuable here, so I'll just skip. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I mean, I'd just read Atomic Habits and try and figure out how to do this in a healthier way. It feels like you've taken the Duolingo approach, which is very stressful for people, rather than the kind of rewarding small positive behaviors as they go. But I agree, if you can solve this, then it'll be great. But I don't think any of us are experts in mental health, and so we're unlikely to have the off pat answer for you.
Thank you very much. The only thing I would add here is that in my experience, keep it simple. Simplicity works best. When you try and overwhelm people, that can have the opposite effect that you want them to do. So try and keep it simple. Maybe, I don't know, minimize the number of things that they have to do. Just again, think what is one thing that you would like to be remembered by people that use that platform, and focus on that one thing, and see what happens. If they respond well to that, brilliant. If not, move on, give them something else to do. And then if they respond well and they keep going on that, then you've got them hooked. So then you can ask and sort of maybe try A/B testing, introduce certain things to a certain group and certain other things to another group. But now we are 2 minutes before we need to wrap up. So maybe we can get some parting words. Perhaps we can start with Mary, and then Chris, then Mario, and last but not least, Dan. Take it away, please, Steve.
I mean, I think I suppose the theme from today is small incremental change beats trying to change everything all at once. And so whether that's with your product, with your process, with your team, think carefully about what's the smallest thing you can do that you'll learn from, what's good enough for now and safe enough to try.
Thank you very much for that. I think we said next Chris, wasn't it? Yep, Chris.
Yes. Cool. Well, I always start with, if you're building a startup, working on a startup, that is hard work, and well done. Be proud of yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, and keep going. Try and take care of yourself. And as I said at the top of the call, really obsess about the real world problem you're solving, and hopefully you'll get some satisfaction from doing it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Mario?
I'll build on this and say this is the best time for non-technical founders to build their product with AI, with all the basic tooling that we have. But finding the right problem is the biggest problem that you're gonna have, and technology is probably not gonna be one of them.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Dan, please.
Thank you. I would echo everything that everyone has said. The only build I would put on top of this is that it is very hard to build companies. Not everybody will see the world the way you see it, and to try and remember that as you go and sell. And not only is this the best time to start a company and the easiest time to get prototypes out there's a lot of tools out there that can help you move fast. You have never needed venture capital less than you currently need it, and trying to break the hegemony that exists of running towards a quick valuation and running towards funding. The best funding in the world is customer revenue, and you get customer revenue by solving a problem they're willing to have paid to solve. So as long as that's paramount in everybody's thinking, you're on the right route in today's world, I say.
Well, thank you very much to all four of you. I really appreciate your time and amazing advice today. Huge thanks to everyone that tuned in, those on the live streams, but especially those here live. And of course, mainly Kirsty, who asked the question live. Quick reminder to those of you on the live streams, next time, please join us directly here on Microsoft Teams. It's audio only, which means you can tune in via anywhere, any platform or device. Quick reminder, I guess, well, two reminders. One, we've got some amazing WhatsApp groups. I've put the link to the product and tech Q&A WhatsApp group here in the chat that you can join. You can ask questions ahead of each session. You can connect with each other founders, investors, product and tech people, our mentors, and all that jazz. So you can send questions ahead. You can discuss topics post Q&A, or you can even get extra help if you need to. Please feel free to join those. We run 6 regular sessions. Monday's talent, Tuesday's product and tech, Wednesday's growth, Thursday's fundraising, second Fridays of each month it's UK startup law, and third Fridays of each month it's UK startup finances. That all from 12 to 1 p.m. UK time, and you can RSVP to any of them via our site startuptoscaleup.club. Now, as far as my parting words are concerned, just remember the startup journey can be both exciting but also quite challenging. So try to have some fun and be kind to yourself and everyone else for that matter too. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow here on Microsoft Teams for Startup Growth Q&A, where you can ask some amazing people about how to grow your business on anything from user acquisition all the way to maybe growth hacks and general sales, marketing, advertising, branding, go-to-market, and all that jazz. So thank you again, and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.